The hidden memory is a continuation of nerve. Crichton is still in the hands of Scorpius, with Crais chomping at the bit to kill him as soon as the wormhole information is extracted. Moya's in the early stages of labor, so that's also a problem.
She chooses now to go into labor. It's a little inconvenient.
She has little choice.
Wow, that's pretty self-absorbed even for Rigel. But things aren't looking good for Moya in this situation either. With Crais nearby, they could be detected and have no way to escape. But under the circumstances, there are no other options. Now, speaking of no options, Aeryn has finally learned about what's up with Crichton, and despite how sick she is, plans to head down. Dargo and Zahn soon join her.
I'm strong enough to go alone.
No, you're not. I'm coming with you. If you can be an idiot, I can be an idiot.
That's our heroes. At least they're usually honest with themselves. But it also shows the impact that Crichton has had on them this season. Dargo harbored deep resentment and mistrust of Crichton for quite a while, and Aeryn believed him to be a callow idiot, wondering at what Earth must be like if it's a world full of Crichtons. Now they're making a horribly stupid move because none of them can leave him behind, because of all the times that he stubbornly stood up for each one of them. He hasn't really earned their respect exactly, but he's earned their loyalty. Things look bad for Crichton, though. The chair's doing a number on him, even making him relive bits of Jeremiah Crichton. Ugh. After an intense experience, he's dumped in his cell with Harvey Dent, who's fiddling with the lock to the cell. Crichton makes the mistake of talking to him.
Love the chair, love the chair, love the chair.
Well, say what you will about the Peacekeepers, but at least they go out of their way to put entertainment right in your room with you. But after a while, Stark claims that his madness is fake so that they'll leave him alone. A claim that would be convincing if he didn't regularly seem like a secret blend of 11 types of crazy. But no, he's perfectly sane, as most people dressed like a punk rock Phantom of the Opera are.
How many times you been in it?
Over 100 sessions.
Oh, well, of course you're still sane after that. He spent the last 2 years collecting bits of metal to try to make a magnetic key to defeat the lock and then escape. It's the little hobbies that keep you sane. That and visiting the king of the potato people on your magic carpet. PK Tech Girl contacts Crichton again to fill him in, and he asks for help, since trying to keep her involvement shielded from the chair is proving really taxing. The chair, after all, can pull any memory where there's no resistance, no matter how well buried it might be.
I've conceived hundreds of progeny. And those are only the official ones with my wife.
Or how much we might wish to forget.
My progeny were tiny. Tiny and handsome, like their father.
While Chiana and Rigel work on helping Moya with her labor, Scorpius has decided to go the Tim Allen route on us. What this chair needs is a little more power. PK Tech Girl slips in and joins the team working on it, swapping out one of the stereo sockets for another one, and then telling Crichton that when he's in the chair, he should think about the time they were making out when they first met. That's a bit creepy sounding, girl. Would you replace that memory with one of the two of you reenacting the steam up the car scene from Titanic? Well, Crichton has no choice but to trust her, especially as Crais starts kicking Stark's ass just for being in the way.
You see, Crichton, this is what I'm trying to keep you from.
Yeah, Scorpy, you're all heart.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Crichton winds up back in the chair, insisting that he's not blocking anything, but this time thinks about making out with the girl. Unfortunately for Crais, the memory's a fabrication. We see him in it, getting wormhole tech from Crichton to further his own ambitions. Crais insists that Crichton's making it up, but you can't lie to the chair, so Crichton just goes along with the story, claiming that he traded the info for his life. Crais threatens to give him a smushy face if he doesn't confess the truth. Scorpius admits that he doubts the truth of this, but given the severity of the information, well, they have to be sure. And there's only one way to be sure of that.
No. For you to go in the chair.
And this is when you really have to feel for the poor schmucks who work for Crais. Their boss is obviously a bit unhinged on the subject of Crichton. They know it. But what's worse is that Scorpius orders them to put Crais in the chair. Sure, technically Scorpius has the higher authority, but as soon as they're done, they're going to be back under the command of Captain Crackpot. And does he look like the, I understand you were only following orders type? Or the, I only understand that you put me in the damn torture chair type. Crichton winds up in the tender mercies of Stark. I went to the king of the potato people and pled for your freedom. Actually, he's on the sane side of his mood swing and removes his mask to reveal half his face as glowing energy stuff, which he uses to share a few memories to help heal poor Crichton. Meanwhile, Aeryn, Dargo, and Zan are on top of the ruins the base is built under, getting ready to break Crichton out. Aeryn enters the base disguised as a peacekeeper and tracks down PK Tech Girl, giving her the universal greeting of smushing her head against the door. They concoct a plan to rescue Crichton, which is actually pretty simple. Tell the security guard about Stark's magnetic key. Don't worry, Stark. I'm sure another 2 years will just fly by in no time. Nah, they'll take him along. This ship hasn't anywhere near filled up its cargo bay of crazy yet. Meanwhile, Crais has been going through hell in the chair, whimpering like a little girl. But the secret he's hiding isn't about wormholes. It's that he murdered one of his officers rather than turn back to Peacekeeper space as ordered. But even that matters less to Scorpius than the fact that he doesn't have wormhole information. Everything else is secondary to that. You may wonder why Scorpius is so fixated upon wormholes, and that's because they're so incredibly powerful, especially militarily. The most obvious use of wormholes is for purposes of speed, and that in and of itself is enough. Imagine a military base that was capable of moving vehicles and forces anywhere on the earth in minutes. Put tanks in Baghdad, send supplies to Libyan rebels, send rescue teams into North Korea, send assassins into Al-Qaeda headquarters. Just imagine how much it would change the very nature of warfare, especially if only one side had it. Could China or the United States, with all their military might, hope to be able to oppose such an enemy if they could suddenly have a truck with a nuclear bomb in the back appear in Beijing or Washington? On a galactic scale, that's what wormholes permit, and that's the most basic practical level. Wormholes could possibly be used for time travel, so depending on the rules of how it would work, could be anything from gaining intelligence on the enemy to turning defeats into victories to undermining their very emergence as a power. For instance, if there was a war against a reptilian species, the aliens could use a wormhole to throw an asteroid back in time, completely altering the history of the planet and ensuring an entirely different species became the dominant life form. And that's all strategic issues. Scorpius is also looking at the use of wormholes for tactical purposes. In other words, weapons. Any and all of this could be used to halt their mortal enemy in their tracks. So the fact that Crais is a murderer is, at the moment, less important than the fact that he doesn't have the answers Scorpius needs. The alarm sounds even as the four try to escape, with Scorpius insisting that Crichton must be recaptured. That wormhole information is too valuable to risk losing through escape or accidental death. This gives our heroes a slight advantage, but not much compared to the massive disadvantage of being outnumbered like 1,000,000,000 to 1. Black Widow fails to find them hiding under the floor for the moment, but to escape during lockdown, they'll need to get a tag from a senior officer. Luckily, there's one strapped to a chair just waiting for Aeryn. Back on Moya, things take a turn for the worse, but I shouldn't have to tell you that by now. In order to give birth, she's going to have to equalize pressure, meaning the main area is going to have to be a vacuum, so the only safe place are the sealed tanks. Or rather the one tank that Rigel has. He lets her in, but that smile says that despite his protest last time, being pressed up against her in a tight space is very appealing. Still, it could be worse.
I must go, Chiana.
What was that?
Aeryn finds Crais, the man responsible for her being in this predicament, and she can't help but confront him over this. He tries ordering her to release him. Big mistake.
On the oath you took.
Your oath means nothing to me. You made sure of that. You destroyed everything. I lost everything because of you.
Aeryn,
Do you know what I learned while I was away from you? Everything I lost isn't worth a damn.
Aeryn shows there's no hard feelings by sparing his life. Although she turns the chair on to maximum and leaves. Ouch. I really can't imagine anything worse. Oh! Damn my imagination.
Chiana, I didn't mean to.
Shut up!
Moya's repressurized, but the child won't get out. It's covered in weapons, something unheard of for a Leviathan. Because it was never meant to be, the child can't fly free, and in a panic is ready to fire its weapons to escape. Show this to a first-time expectant mom. Give them something new to worry about. Chiana helps out, and with a low-level blast, the baby's able to work himself free. Aeryn and Crichton head for the surface, but PK Tech Girl chooses to stay behind since, in the middle of their daring escape, Crichton was unwilling to make a commitment. I'm not kidding. They rendezvous on the surface with Stark, Zan, and Dargo, but Scorpius and his troops use the elevator to beat them there, so a firefight breaks out. Scorpius catches Crichton, but PK Tech Girl shows up with a last-ditch effort to save him. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Scorpius sorts out Crichton's relationship problem, but his target works his way free, and they head back to the transport. Now that they've escaped, the change is inevitable. Scorpius needs that wormhole technology to use against the Scarans, and his interest in Crichton is going to compel the Scarans to take their own interest, until the Moya crew are now pulled into the midst of this massive power struggle throughout the series, and a desire to try to secure this knowledge from Crichton. This wouldn't happen if Scorpius hadn't pursued him, and he wouldn't have done it if Crichton hadn't wound up in the Aurora chair of this particular base, which he wouldn't have done except to save Aeryn from her mortal wound, a wound she wouldn't have acquired if Chiana hadn't decided to open that crate. As I said, from little things. Nerve and the Hidden Memory form a two-parter that shapes the entire rest of the series just as much as Premiere did. So as a result, they receive a rating of must-see. And besides that, they're damn fine episodes. I enjoy the duality of the relationship between Crichton and Aeryn. He saves her in part 1, she saves him in part 2. That's the way their relationship works. She teaches him to fight. He teaches her that she doesn't always have to. As for Scorpius, who was introduced in this story, he was originally intended only to last for 2 more episodes, but his effectiveness changed the minds of the powers that be, to the ultimate benefit of the series. While Crais' pursuit of Crichton was nothing to sneeze at, Scorpius shifting into that role was far more terrifying for Crichton. Crais just wanted to kill him. Scorpius wanted to crack him open for the secret prize inside. To those who haven't seen him, or much of him, a simple way to comprehend him would be to imagine if Spock were ruthless and amoral, a great intellect, controlled yet powerful emotions, and cunning. But Scorpius goes further than those simple descriptions. His pursuit of Crichton is only peripherally personal, meaning that he wishes to see the Scarans suffer. But this is about his duty as a peacekeeper. As much as it sounds like a joke, he may be an evil torturer, but he's not all bad. He's actually quite reasonable. He's a hybrid in a service that prides itself on genetic purity, so he has shades of Star Wars Grand Admiral Thrawn to him, the alien who was nevertheless loved by his men and renowned for being overall a fair and decent man with charm in his arsenal. Like him, Scorpius seems to play the chess master now and again. With him on Crichton's tail, it felt like he was being pursued by the devil himself.
Have you finished?
Yes?